Joseph Lathel Callister, Daddy to us, Lathel or Lath to others. Dad was the undisputed head of the family. We called him Daddy, but I refer to him as Dad. It almost seems disrespectful, but that is what I am comfortable with now. I do respect him highly as an honest, hard-working, and loving father. I have never known any man more dedicated to his family and service to others. He was highly respected as one who could be depended upon to do more than his share of the work he was involved in. He was called to be bishop twice. He was on the High Council for many years, was asked to be in charge of the softball programs in the area, was in charge of various family reunions, served with Mom a full-time mission for the church, and found time and resources to care for a large family of 16 children. I was strengthened by the letters he sent to me in Germany. He most likely wrote the letter at this desk he was given after his first bishop term in the old Third Ward. Following is a brief excerpt from a letter he sent April 4th, 1955. The fact that so many young men are called into the armed services and that LDS boys are scattered throughout almost every country gives you fellows who have a testimony of the gospel and live right a wonderful opportunity to acquaint the other boys with our church and religious beliefs. If you think of it that way, maybe it would make your time there mean a lot more to you. I recall something of the history of his early striving to get established with a farm and water to irrigate crops. He was wise in his foresight to acquire water rights and some more land with the hard-earned money. Sometimes the irrigation water got out of control and horses would pull out the vehicle stuck in the mud. For a time, it was necessary for him to spend a lot of his time and energy working for other neighbors on their farms to earn enough money to sustain his growing family. He worked long, hard hours developing the farmland he was paying for. He would come home after a day's work and spend considerable time doing necessary chores of his own. I believe his parents are proud of the way he and Mom worked and had the faith and desire to accomplish all they did. His dad was a faithful, hard worker too. His mother was a talented, sweet, faithful lady, according to the accounts written about her. Eventually, he had sons who would be able to assist on the farm work, and Mom was blessed with girls who could help with many chores in the house. This became, as we all know now, a blessing in many ways. It kept us together in meaningful activity. It taught us children to work, and we learned to accept responsibility. It gave us some know-how and confidence in ourselves to be able to accomplish things. There was always enough to keep us busy, and the things we did were obviously important things that had to be done. Dad didn't have to make up something to keep us involved. It was there to be done, right there at home. Following are excerpts from Dad's recorded statements from my audio tape about important things in his life, made May 25th, 1980. Dad was almost 71 years of age. He had no advanced information about any of the questions that I had outlined for him.
No, I didn't think it had been better. It's an ideal place to raise a family because 2 or 3 reasons. There's always something for each one to do, and you can pretty well line it out so that each one knows what the responsibility is. And maybe having to milk cows, maybe that was an incentive for some of you to get an education. I believe that a very important time in my life was when I think I was 11 years old, when my mother died, and I did some pretty serious thinking about that time. Of course, I hadn't thought anything about that there was a possibility she'd die or anything like that, and when she did, I just didn't hardly figure that was possible, that something like that our Father in heaven allowed something like that to happen. And so I had to do a little thinking and a little rearranging, and that was probably one of the first major challenges that came to me, is to get myself adjusted to that actually did happen, and that's part of the plan. And it wasn't anything that was bad or anything like that, it was just part of the program. And I kind of got the idea there that there's certain things that you just had to outlive or to just overcome. Take enough time to know what you're doing, and that's what you want. And then when you get on something that you know is solid, then follow through with the best you've got. I mean, you've got to have faith in God. I mean, that's just fundamental to our thinking.
We didn't have everything we wanted as children, but we did always have plenty to eat and clothing to wear. We did not see ourselves as poor, though by today's standards, we did not have a lot of material things. We were as well off as anyone around us. In addition, we had everything that was important to our well-being and life's lessons. We all recall the exciting times when Dad would call us into the kitchen and cut up a candy bar in small pieces. Each one of us would get our carefully measured share. It was a good time. Some of the things we did were harvest crops, cutting, raking, tromping, hauling, stacking, threshing hay and grain, and irrigating off, though Dad did much of that. We hoed, weeded, and topped sugar beets. Ugly job. We cultivated land, fixed fences, herded cows and sheep, fed animals, cut daughter out of the hay, milked cows, and 1,000 other things. Dad and Mom both had many interests for themselves and us. They saw to it that we were given opportunities to be involved in sports, music, church, social activities, and home family activity. Singing in the car was fun for all. I think we learned many of the good old songs from Gene Autry over the radio.
From this valley they say you are going. I will miss your bright eyes and sweet smiles.
We had family home evenings as far back as I can remember. Sometimes I have read that these programs started some years ago, and I think we were well into it before the date they usually show. Mom and Dad were very much involved in their children's activities at school and church, etc. The fact that many excelled can likely be attributed in part to their interest and involvement. They didn't go just out of duty. They were obviously there because it was of great interest and enjoyment to them. Dad was a very good fast-pitch softball player. He usually played as catcher, which is where the action is, and takes skill and bravery. He was quite competitive and wanted to win. However, he was a good sport and well respected as shown by the responsibilities he was given to lead local area ball programs. He liked to join in the games with the family. There was plenty of room to play softball in our spacious yard west of the house. He promoted game activity at home and elsewhere. We always had a pretty good crew for any game, right at home. I recall an incident that had a significant impact on me as a growing, challenging boy. One evening, we were at the old Third Ward Church for a mutual MIA meeting. About the time the meeting was to start, some of us youth, boys and girls, decided we were going to go to a movie uptown instead of church. Somehow one of the boys had access to a car, which I can't figure out now. Anyway, just before we started to go, Dad found me and wanted to know if what he had heard about us going to town was true. Well, he was not pleased. He was the bishop. I told him it was true. We were on our way. He let me know that that was not acceptable. I said I was going to go anyway. I don't recall if there were people close by listening in. I hope this group picture was not gathered to watch us. If so, I was probably trying to save face with my friends, and he may have been trying to keep his temper in check. It must have been awkward for him. I know it was getting awkward for me. It soon became evident that neither of us was going to give in. I just started the long walk home. He just started to walk home with me. I was getting very confused as to what to do. I can't drag him with me. He's the bishop and has to be at church for his meeting. Still, he was walking right along with me, and we were beginning to make some distance from the church. He finally said something to the effect, "If it isn't important to you to be at church, then it isn't for me either. Family is what it's all about." I thought to myself, he means to go with me all the way home. I can't do this. I turned around and we went back to church. It was a learning experience for me. He was telling me that his efforts and service in the church would have little meaning if his family was out of it. I was important to him, and that he was also showing me that his concern for me was high on his list of priorities. He was a great example of a good, honest, hard-working spiritual man. He loved life and was always highly involved in doing his share of work and play, too. Dad was always a very sociable person. I'll give 2 examples. The first is a simple habit he had of waving at every car that passed as he drove down the road. And if I was driving, he'd be very upset if I didn't wave at anyone that passed too. A second evidence is his routine habit of going uptown to get something and ending up visiting with his friends who happened to be there. He could spend quite a bit of time visiting when he could have been home working. He is a good example of a person who could have found reasons to be offended with life's challenges. His mother died while he was young, and he had to work hard and long to get established with his own farm. Yet he accepted challenges with fortitude and faith and made a good life out of it all. I respect him greatly for the honorable legacy he leaves with us.